I hope you're well. I'm going to leave this video here because some people had too many questions and I don't know if I'm going to have the time to shoot for blocks again. So I might as well just give you the information raw. If you want referenced examples. Money, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hold on. Let me see what my cat is doing. What are you doing? You can't do that. Bad cat. Can you stop? Okay? Not good. Bad cat. You have to be a good boy. Okay. So I think I'm going to answer different questions using my lives. I'll be leaving the videos here for you. And I hope somehow some of your questions get answered. Okay. So welcome to DOREEN'S African. This is juice, like berries, dark berries. I'm a bit sick. I've been admitted for like 3 days. Been in the hospital. I left today. I told you I'm still in recovery on some things. So, but I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. My recovery is well. I'm doing much, much better. Okay? Okay, so the topic of today is how to determine the strength of blocks. Now, you need to understand when we say blocks, we are specifically talking about the big ones, the concrete blocks. We don't call the small ones blocks, we call them bricks for many reasons. That's just how things are. Just get it like that. I'm sure there is a viable explanation for that. I'll make time and give you that, but today is not the time for this. So first and foremost, if you're building a house that is going to be above 8 feet, even if it's 8 feet, you need to let me even first come back. Step one, the material that you're going to use to make your block are very important. You can use sand, cement, and stone dust, but depending on what you're building, if you're building like a flat, I would advise that you make your blocks to be cement and stone dust. Now, for those of you that don't know stone dust, you can pretty much buy it from any quarry. What is a quarry? Quarries are places where they smash big stones to give you the concrete stones of different sizes for you to use in your concrete, the big ones to use to level on the sides of your fences. Like those places, yeah, they have the capacity to make stone dust, but not every type of stone can actually be crushed into stone dust. Even stone dust has different grains. What do I mean by grains? Some stone dust is more fine and others is less fine. By fine, I mean small particles. It's the same like sand. We have fine grain sand and then we have the less fine. We have different sand that has different. So all this sand has its own purpose. That's why when you're buying sand and you're building your house, you have to be very careful about what type of sand you're buying. Not every sand is for building. Actually, every sand can be for building, but building what? Okay? So let's go back to our blocks. When your blocks are being created, depending on what you're making, okay, you have to determine the following. Always try to look for, if you're going to put sand, make sure it's fine grain sand. Now, this is knowledge that applies globally. But if you're in Uganda, the best type of sand to use to make your concrete blocks is Rela. Now, from my research over the years, I've discovered that different parts of the country have a different name for that sand. The people in Central call it Rela. When I was in Gulu, they had a different name. When I went to Mbarara, different name. When I went to Bushenyi, they have a different name. When I went to Jinja, Mbale, Park, when I went to Malaba, they all have a different name. So I've done projects in all these locations. Actually, the most interesting one, I did a project in Tororo. That was one of the most interesting experiences of my life. It's recent, but not too recent. So anyway, the sand particle grain must match the stone dust particle grain. Don't get fine sand and get less fine grain stone dust. Look at the particle. It must match the particle. The particle of the sand must match the particle of the stone dust. That is if you're going to mix the two. And don't forget this. When you're making your mix, the stone dust has to always be more than the sand. If you're using 2 wheelbarrows of sand, double that. Mommy, my mom is crazy. I love her down though. So what I was saying, if you are going to mix sand and stone dust, make sure the particle is actually the same. If you're buying these, be very, very careful on that, because remember, if the particles are uneven, the block is going to be porous. What do I mean by porous? The block is going to have air bags in it. And because of that, yeah, the block is going to be able to hold air inside. Now, what can take that air out is the level of compression. If you don't have a high level compression machine, then you have a problem. Because the reason we compress so strongly this block when we are making it, we compress so that we take the air out. We are literally just creating a shape and taking the air out to allow the curation to be smooth. Because when the block does not cure well, it will not be strong enough. So you might find a company that has good machines, but they're buying material wrongly. Keep that in mind. So, and then their blocks are strong, but they're not that strong. So when you're buying, now this advice is best for people that have companies that make these things. And if you're making for yourself, compression is only viable when the material is accurate. When the material is not accurate, it doesn't matter how hard you compress, you're still going to have airbags within your blocks. Make sense? So there is a gentleman that asked me this. So now, you who is buying, how do you know that this block is strong? Because you are not going to be there when it's being made. How do you determine the strength of this block? But before I go to that, how do you know? Anyway, that is still the same question, but first foremost, the block should have been cured for at least 7 days, a minimum of 7 days. But we say, for me, I advise 14 days and above, because what is curing? Curing is simple. It's just like a fancy engineering word for pouring water on concrete. When you pour water on anything concrete, you make it stronger. Water makes concrete stronger. Not time, it's water. If you do not pour water on something concrete, it will hold, but it will start to, let me give you an example. inside your house, if your house is not painted and it has a plaster on it, or even just normal build, after some years, you will start to notice that when you scratch on your walls, they turn to ash, some easily. Now, this is another thing that people don't do in Uganda, but it should be done. Even after plastering or building, the walls must be made wet. Whatever concrete mix you have used to hold your blocks together should get wet. That's why when it rains on a concrete building before it's roofed, it does not affect it. It only makes it stronger. Contrary to what you have been told and advised, a building made of concrete blocks only gets weaker before roofing because the material that was used to build is less or it's not up to standard. But if it's up to standard, you can raise your house up to roof level and leave it for even 10 years and nothing is going to happen to it unless external force is applied. If external force is applied, then it's going to get weak. I don't know if I'm making sense. Let's go back to how to determine the strength of a block. Number one, your concrete block should, if cured, we all know what curing is at this point. So if your block has been cured for at least 14 days, you should be in position to hold it and drop it at least 2 to 3 times before it breaks. That's number one. Your block should be able to withstand minor pressure. It should be. So normally we call it the trust test. If your block cannot perform a trust test, after the curing process is over, it's weak. 2, if your block is extremely light, for example, you cannot have an 8-inch block and be able to lift it with maybe 2 fingers. I don't care what gym you go to. You can't just pick it up like this. Okay? And even if you are picking it with one hand, it shouldn't be that easy. Like it can be over time from practice. Some people are stronger, especially men, but it shouldn't feel like paperweight. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. The lighter your block, the weaker. Number 3, the type of material that you used. But you who is buying, you won't know. But contrary to the type of material, uneven edges, if you go to buy from someone and almost all the blocks have cracked edges, there is a challenge. If the challenge did not come from the machine, then the challenge came from the people that were moving the blocks to put them somewhere for curing. So you need to find out what the problem is. Because if a block comes out of a machine with broken or cracked edges, it means the pressure did not hold in the first place at all. That is a weak block. It is. And then what happens when you build with weak blocks? Remember, you need your block to be up to standard because you're already building with a hollow block. And a lot of things contribute to the strength of a building, not just the block, depending on what you're building. But we always, if you have more than 3 bedrooms, you must try to have a beam in your foundation. What's a beam? A beam is like a set of steel, right? Steel bars that are conjoined from the foundation around the building. The beam can only go upwards if you're going to have a balcony or you're going to have a flat. But if you're simply building a simple bungalow, please, and especially if you're in a hilly area, you must have a beam. Money, stop. Can you stop? You must always have a beam in your foundation. The beam must surround the building from down. Hi, Larry. What do I mean? When they set your foundation, okay? When your foundation is set, some builders will even go ahead to put the beam at a certain level within the foundation before you pour the soil and compress it. Others will wait a couple of layers to put the beam, but the beam will help to hold the building somehow, somewhere. That is why when your building is cracking, we do what we call hooking. We hook your building. We hook it for extra strength. But hooking could be avoided if you put the right beam in foundations. Then the challenges of building with weak blocks, cracked houses. Your house will crack for so many reasons, but one of the reasons that I can guarantee you is the weak blocks. You see, depending on what type of roofing you're going for, but the hipped roof in particular is one of the safest options, but it is also one of the most dangerous options to the building. It is safe for the building and you because it protects the entire building. There is little to no risk in the future. But if you built your house wrongly, that hipped roof carries so much weight onto the building. And as you continue to exist in this building, the weight will eventually be too much for the weak building. What happens to the weak building? It starts to crack. It starts to crack. Now, this is just one of the things that will make your house crack. And those cracks only get worse. And as the years go on, it eventually collapses if you do not attend to the cracks very soon. How can you attend to these cracks? First, identify what the true cause of the crack is. Most of them is a water problem. Most cracks I know are a water problem, but a water problem can only be identified from the foundation. Like after the foundation is done, you will always see water bugs. They have a special name for it. That's one of the easiest ways to discover that you have a water problem. And how does this truly affect you? Poor foundation. Construction itself is an interesting aspect, depending on how you look at it. First of all, the foundation, just the way it sounds, it is something that will determine the strength of your building for the rest of its life. You can have the most cheap material, but if the material is accurate and it's correct, you can have a stronger building than a rich man because you did everything the way it was meant to be done from the word go. If the foundation of the house is weak, I always advise people, when you're building your house, the foundation should never be in 6x6. It should be 9x8 or 9x9. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. Because you got cheap in your foundation, the whole house is fucked, to say the least. It's a challenge. There are so many challenges in construction, and one of the worst things, people tell you, oh, roofing is the hardest. No, you can roof at any point in your life. Actually, roofing is not the hardest part of construction. The foundation is. If your foundation is wrong or wrongly executed, you are wasting your time. Because the foundation has so many steps to it. In that one wrong move, if you don't get the water level right, it could be just one side of the house and it can fuck up the whole building. And you will forever, you'll never know. Unless someone who is highly professional comes, they'll be able to tell you. Most will not even tell you because it will be a bit too late. But if the foundation is poorly done, you have no building. I don't care how you think the building looks later, you have no building. And you might hold on to the thought of your building existing for as long as you can, but I promise you, after a couple of years, it will go down. It always goes down. The challenges become expensive as time goes on. Always. It's inevitable. It's like what is the thing called? What's the language? The original sin. So that is why the foundation, when you're doing your foundation, make sure that whoever is responsible for it is actually very, very, very well versed with what they are doing. Everything else on the building can be fixed, but mistakes of the foundation cannot be fixed. They can't. No matter, you can try, but the only way you fix mistakes of the foundation is by demolishing the building and you restart. And how many people are willing to restart? It is quite sad. But as we were discussing the strength, hi Timothy, thank you. Yeah. People underlook the foundation, but I promise you, you need to give it more attention and more time. Everything is highly dependent on the foundation. Let me tell you, to have a bad foundation, you'd rather have a leaking roof than a bad foundation. It's easy to fix a leaking roof, but you can't fix a bad foundation. You can't. I think the people that came up with these terms, maybe they were like parents, because these things are they're like life itself. They're like people, you know? They're like people. It's crazy how things move, but that's just how things move. That's just how things move. I've seen so many, most of your challenges are actually foundation based. All of them. They are foundation based. Sorry, I'm trying to buy more internet. What I have is, I have 8 minutes left on this live. If you have questions in relation to the topic at hand, feel free to ask. I will answer you. I'm going to do more of these lives because I have so many questions in my comment section and I can't shoot a video for each of those. And I figured I could just make a live and leave it there. It doesn't stress me too much. No editing like that. Nothing crazy like that. Yeah. Back in the day, I used to teach people how to make concrete blocks. Actually, I was a partner for a Chinese company that makes those machines. I think they still have me as their East African ambassador for some reason. Crazy. Bum, bum, bum. But one thing I learned from the Turkish and the Chinese, one of my greatest lessons that I learned from them, because sometimes you need to learn from the creator of the craft. And I guarantee you, the creator of the craft, when you're making concrete blocks, is the Turkish and then the Chinese, or some Asians in general, using hardcore stones or red bricks for foundation. Which ones? I'm not talking about building. The problem is people don't want to pay consultation fees. I'm talking about how you stay. I'm going to come and give a full topic and discussion on this because this is a long topic. Okay. This is a long topic. And the problem is I should be paid. This is consultation. I'm going to come and make a live. I'm going to try and go live every day for at least 30 minutes teaching you these things. Okay, tomorrow, what time tomorrow? Tomorrow, I have to go to the hospital for about 6 hours. When I come back, I have a field trip for 3 hours. When I'm done, I come back home. I'll probably be too dizzy to function. I need to rest for like 3 hours. Okay, tomorrow, I'm going to put a specific time when I go live every day for topics like this, because I can't be going live randomly. And most of the people that watch me are not entirely in the country, so they awake at night, my time. So let's put it at maybe 9. No, 9 is too soon. 8. Sorry, 9 is too late. Let's put it at 8. I'll be going live every day at 8 p.m. That is Ugandan time. So East African time, Ugandan time, convert it to your time, and then you see. I think if I'm consistent enough, you will be able to attend. I'll go live at 8 every day to answer some of these questions. But to give you a sneak, is it called a sneak what? Sneak peek. Your answer is the determinant of what is better. Money, can you stop? Stop. Be a good boy. The determinant of what to use in your foundation is fully dependent on the type of soil that you have. What does your ground looks like? You cannot just ask these questions without base information. What is the color of the soil that you have? What is the level of it? Is it on a hill? Is it on a flat area? Is it, stuff like that. Because then the diversity of my advice changes based on these answers that you give me. That's why most of you, when you come to me, after you pay me that consultation fee, then I start asking you questions and you're like, but I came here for answers. Why are you asking me? I cannot answer you until you answer me. Okay? So for example, a split, is it speedified? What is the type of soil where you want to build? Is it wet? Is it black? Is it red? Is it yellow? Are you surrounded by water? How far is the water from where you're trying to build? Are you on a hill? Are you on a flat area? Is it a semi-hill? Is it farmland? Have they been farming on it, or it's just trees on the ground? Is it bare land? Have they been grazing animals there? You see why this is a whole live video of its own. I have 2 minutes left on this. So these questions that I've asked you come with answers tomorrow at 8, and I'll be able to give you proper answers. Because I could just say, oh, use brick red, but I can't say brick red because I don't know what problems you have. But tomorrow when I'm live, I'll try to break it down in 2 categories, because there are 6 to 7 categories of land. Yes. But one thing for sure that I can tell you now for free and easy is that never put concrete blocks in your foundation when you're building. Never. I don't care what you think, what you've been told. Never, unless you live in a desert. If you're building in a desert, perfect. If you are not living in a desert, if you are able to get 2 to 3 rainfalls, 3 rainfalls and above in a month, don't put concrete blocks in your foundation. I don't care if they are solid. It's even worse if they're solid. I don't care if they're semi-solid, semi-hollow, hollow, whatever. Don't. I've seen too much chaos with this. That's free advice. That one I can give you now. Tomorrow I'll still talk about it. But back to our block situation as I wind up. Please, when you're making concrete blocks, it is always 1 to 6. 1 bag of cement to 6. We have different types of cement. Please, please, please. Most of you are using SEM4. I'll also teach you what these SEMs actually stand for. Realize that the lower the SEMs go, the lower they go, the more expensive they get. And I'll teach you why that is. So most of you are using SEM4 even to build your houses, but SEM4 is not as strong from certain companies. We have different companies that have a higher setting time frame and others have a lower setting time frame. So depending on what you actually buy, it will also tell you what to do. By 1 to 6, we mean 1 bag of cement to 6 wheelbarrows of stone dust. If you're deciding to do 1 to 6 with sand, the sand has to be the least. For example, you can do 1 bag of cement to 2 wheelbarrows of sand and 4 wheelbarrows of stone dust. The stone dust capacity has to always double the capacity of the sand. That is how you make a concrete block or paver. Simple as that. The capacity of the stone dust must always double that of the sand. The quality grain must always be identical. If your sand is bad, sieve it. Sieve it. People sieve sand. You might be in an area where it's very hard to get the high quality sand, or maybe you don't have the funds for it. Buy the regular sand and sieve it, so that you have a grain that is equal to the grain of the stone dust. Why? I already explained. To avoid airbags, to create a stronger block and lessen the air spaces, and compression is even, things like that. And if you don't want to use sand, even better. If you're going to build a flat, don't use a block that has sand in it. Use a block that is only made from stone dust and cement. But you don't know. How do you know? You don't know how to determine these things. Anyway, I'm actually so dizzy right now. I need to take my medication and sleep. But I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8. I already surpassed the 30 minutes. My videos are 30 minutes long. My lives, because no one has time to watch. Even this is too long. I need to find a way of reducing them to maybe 20 minutes or so. Yeah, so that I encourage people to watch them. If I make them too long, they're going to be impossible to watch, yet the knowledge is actually very useful. Okay, take care of yourselves and have a good night or have a good day, depending on where you are. Speedify, tomorrow I'll come with this topic of yours. What is better, hardcore stones or red bricks for foundation? I'll come with your answers tomorrow, okay? Good night. Thank you for watching.